Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Lianas Senior Transition Support, helping you navigate home care and senior residences.
And good afternoon. Welcome to Life Unrehearsed. My name is Matt Delvecchio, specializing in life transitions, elder care planning, and the senior living industry.
And I'm Corey Sirota, clinical social worker and psychotherapist specializing in grief and loss.
Coming up on the first half of today's show, managing our personal assets. How do we protect our identity? We're going to hear from intellectual property lawyer and specialist Nancy Clayman. First off, though, Corey, let me be the first to wish everyone happy holidays this season, and particularly to you, happy Hanukkah, which I believe starts tomorrow.
That's correct. We light our first candle. And 8 days of fun. I want to also wish everybody a happy holiday. And just curious, Matt, it's coming close. Have you done your holiday shopping?
Almost there. Much better than in most years. And I'm falling into the trap of the online shopping. And, it's been good experiences. And they make it so simple, and kind of feel sorry for the retailers because it is so easy. So, yeah, I'm almost done, which is a record for me. How about you?
So let's not go there. And I think that our first guest is really going to help us out with that, some of what you just talked about. But sure. I do want to, before I do that, I want to talk about our second guest, which is the one and only Matt Delvecchio. He's going to talk about the fact that as our population is aging and there's more caregivers than ever, he's going to be talking about how one can either age in place longer and emphasize when it might be time to consider moving to a senior living community. That's coming up on the second half.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
So as am I. But I'm also very much looking forward to this. So let me just set the stage. Nancy Clayman is a lawyer responsible for the intellectual property group at LaPointe, Rosenstein, Marchand, and Mellecon. She's a registered trademark agent and an accredited mediator in brackets commercial. Nancy has extensive experience both nationally and internationally and provides legal advice to a variety of corporate and commercial clients with a focus on intellectual property and information technology law, which is why she's so well placed to be here today. She's very active in the community and does a lot of community work. She sits on several boards and committees. In addition, she regularly speaks and gives conferences on a variety of topics, today's topic very much included. Nancy, welcome to Life Unrehearsed.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. As I've said, this is a topic near and dear to my heart, and I've been speaking on it since 2008.
Wow. So I know that you've garnered a ton of information. So let's get started. I know that myself included, people store a lot of their lives on digital phones, tablets, etc. We use Facebook, we use Instagram, etc., etc., etc. How would you suggest we manage this?
Well, I think, what I talk about is if you walked into your house, and we always talk about hoarders, well, a lot of us are digital hoarders because we have tons of social media accounts, email accounts, we do online banking, and the move is more people have more things in their phone than they probably have in their home. They don't print photos, they read online. So just like the way we organize our homes, we have to be organized in our digital life, and make sure that we don't keep too many things. You don't keep all your sweaters, all your shoes. Well, do you need all your email accounts? Do you need all your social media accounts? What's important, and can I get access to it?
It's so important what you're bringing up, Nancy, and I find, as the years go on, this issue becomes even more important, and we see even generations, the younger generation, they're more comfortable. We'll call it the mid-age, getting a little bit more comfortable, and even seniors and the elder population are using it. At the end of the day, we are all kind of at risk, and so can you give us some examples? Like, where are people at risk?
Well, one of the things you talk about are with elder care or people that are not able to handle all their own things, but they've been working online, doing billing online. So if they don't have a way to organize their digital assets, they can actually get locked out of their life where they can't get access to their bank accounts. And I've had many cases in the last 3 years. People have lost iPhones. They can't get into their email. They don't have their photos. The bank won't recognize them. So it's important that you have and work with someone to say, what do I really need? go through and do an inventory of your social media account, of your email accounts. Do you have a trusted advisor who knows your passwords? In case you're incapacitated, can someone help you get to where you need to go? And the other thing is, we just say click, 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 click. We get emails, we get invitations, we say hi to friends, we go on Facebook, Instagram. So we're putting our information all over the world. And I think it's important we take a minute to manage that.
That's the voice of Nancy Kleiman. We're talking about how to manage your digital assets and how to protect your identity on Life Unrehearsed.
So, would you go out on the street and leave your front door open and your car unlocked? We're the car theft capital of someplace. Sometimes they say of Canada.
Right.
So why are passwords important? Because passwords are the key to our information. And if you have a very simple password, it's like picking a lock. And right now, because of all of our identity being online, we need to have strong passwords, two-factor authentication, which means I may need an email password that's not 1234, and I may need it backed up with a code. It's making our lives more complicated, but I don't know if even in recent news, they talk about people are stealing your data. Why are they stealing your data? How are they stealing your money or your banking information? It's because they hack into your account and they get your information, and what we don't see can hurt us.
Yeah, that's the scary part. What we don't see can hurt us.
Right.
And we don't know. And you mentioned briefly, Nancy, about emails. I think this is very important to bring up. And what do we need to know about emails, and what should we be looking out for?
Well, I think one thing is if you get an email from someone you haven't spoken to in 20 years, it's probably not the person you haven't heard from. Or it may be. For example, if I get an email from someone who's not in my current group of friends or family, I may call them. Even if I get a text, I say, did you call me? Did you email me, to validate that it's accurate? Because one of the quickest ways that people steal information or millions of dollars is by you click on a link for an email. Government is not going to say, here, give me your information, I'm going to give you a refund. If you go on the websites of CRA, Revenue Canada, they have big, big sites on how to protect yourself from identity theft. So easy trick, go on the line of the email and click on it and see, does it say Nancy Kleiman at LRMM, or does it say Jackie12345 from I don't know where? Then you'll know it's a fake email.
It's a great tool to let people know, because I know I have been one of the victims of these kinds of issues, and it's not pretty when your friends get a message that you're in Uganda and stuck and I need $2,000 immediately, and then all of a sudden my emails were wiped out. It was a mess, an absolute mess, because maybe I clicked on something I shouldn't have. And that's why we appreciate this is Life Unrehearsed. We're talking with Nancy Kleiman about how to manage your digital assets and how you can protect your identity. So let me ask you now, you said you had an example that you wanted to give earlier around...
well, I'll give you sort of two examples of real-life examples. So one thing now, that technology is very sophisticated. So one of the examples we had was a young fellow. He died unexpectedly. He was in Peru. He died. And I noticed that his Facebook page was being heavily trafficked. And I said to his family, do you have access to his Facebook page? And they said, no. I said, because he has 3,000 contacts. That's how he runs his business. So therefore, someone needs to shut it down. And that's why I think everyone should take a minute by themselves or with someone to do an inventory of how we live our life online. How many people say, oh, I had 4,000 photos on my phone, but I didn't print one? Mm-hmm. Or my recipe collection. We talk about it's no longer the day where you go to the safety deposit box and unlock your documents. Yeah. So you want to make sure, do I need all these accounts? And we talked about digital shopping, right? Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. And you're right. I think I want to talk about this digital shopping. I think it's a great example. We do have to head out to traffic, Nancy. So we want to hear about that other example about digital shopping. And also, I didn't realize this, but apparently our brain, the way it functions, can actually affect the way we deal with our personal assets and protecting our identity. You want to talk a little bit about that? It's so intriguing.
We are talking with Nancy Kleiman about how to manage your digital assets and how do you protect your identity. So important. Nancy, I was so intrigued to hear this. You talk about the brain. What does the brain have to do with managing our digital assets?
The brain and the reward. So we did some studies recently, and especially with COVID, we have no attention span, and we're often distracted. So we will click on a link because it's automatic. If we see the name Red Shoes, or we click on a link, and this is what gets us into trouble. So I often say count to 5 so that your thinking brain can appear. Because when you're thinking too quickly, that's when, and I can tell you, many people said, oh my gosh, I clicked on the link and now I'm missing $10,000 in my bank account and I've given away all my information. So when you're focusing, you need to give your brain 5 seconds to transfer from the reptile brain, which is just automatic reacting, and looking for the prize. Click here and subscribe and you'll get 15% off, from the thinking brain that says, do I know this person? Do I recognize that email address? CRA wouldn't ask me for my password or my social insurance number, and you'll protect yourself.
Love that. Get our thinking brain hats on. Yeah. Very good idea, Nancy. Prior to traffic, Nancy, you were talking about some stories, and I had mentioned about holiday shopping, and I'm personally doing a lot more online shopping, as many others are. I'm not a digital guy, but this season I did a lot of online shopping. Now, you've got some stories about digital shopping, don't you?
Of course. So, in the last few years, we've been really moving online and doing things online. But then what happens as a result of that, we end up opening many, many accounts or getting many newsletters that we don't need. So it's kind of like multiplying your data in many, many sites. So for that reason, even when you look at something like a social media site, sometimes you can go onto an online site through your social media site because you don't want to go and have another password. So one of the things we want to make sure is that you use a site that's honorable. You want to make sure it's secure. They have a proper method of taking your credit card information, and do not save your credit card information online. Mm-hmm. Delete everything as much as you can, clear your browser, because people are much more sophisticated and they're very good at making things look like they're real when they're not. So that's why I want everyone to pay attention to detail.
So true, so important. People are taken advantage of. True?
Oh, yes.
So, yeah. I mean, and perhaps you can elaborate on what are some of the ways that people are taken advantage of.
Well, they're often scams, and, we're talking about preying on older, more vulnerable people. They've even had a technology where they can mimic the voice of your children, so you give money. And I've known many intelligent people that have lost a lot of money. But the other thing which is important, and I've discussed this even with end-of-life planning, though that's not really the topic here, is I said, just go through and do the inventory. Do I need 2 email addresses? Who has access to my email? So that you are in control of your data. And if you're not using your social media accounts, shut them down. Or if you have Facebook or some other accounts, you can designate a person to be your trusted advisor who can get access to your email. My cases, recently I've had many cases where people have died unexpectedly. Everything was stored on the phone. They had no access to the phone. They had no access to the email. And you'll say, well, who cares? But you could have a lot of valuable information. Your tax receipts could be on your computer. Your information, your phone numbers, your contact list. So we store everything in these little phones or these tablets. So we need to make sure we have access to them. You can't go into the physical filing cabinet because all of this is online. And the other important thing is many sites that we use are not based in Canada, and they're not owned by Canada. They're owned by, a lot of them by American companies, so we have to go by American rules. You can't write them. Like last year, good example, colleague bought a truck on a sale site, paid the deposit, and passed away. Mm-hmm. Well, they couldn't get it. They had no access to the email, so we couldn't get the confirmation number, so we couldn't get the thing they had bought. Mm. Basically, good, sound housekeeping would help prevent some of these problems.
You're listening to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Matt Delvecchio with Corey Sirota, and we're talking with lawyer Nancy Clayman about how to manage our personal assets and how we protect our identity. Now, Nancy, a big topic is cybersecurity. It's getting more and more popular. It's big business. First of all, can you define cybersecurity, and why is it becoming big business?
Cybersecurity is the same thing where we have home security and home protection. But cybersecurity is really protecting your online data and your personal information. And it's cyber because it's computer related, and security is security. That's why we have, you need 10 passwords with an alphabet, a number, a special symbol. Don't repeat the password, because of the sophistication of people that don't live in Canada accessing your account through the back door. They talk about cookies, that you don't eat cookies. Cookies give you access to websites. And I must say, when you have time, it's very good to go on the website of, I think Revenue Canada, the Government of Canada. They have great cybersecurity tips and tricks to make sure you stay safe.
So, I mean, this is so fascinating to me because I'm a big person on, I definitely use Facebook, a bit of a dinosaur because I know it's not the in thing now for sort of the Generation Z. But what I've tried to do is got a little better or a little more safe by Googling the site or Googling, is this a safe site? And then I would find out and that it would say it's a scam or whatever. So that was helpful. But it is hard when people definitely they see this email that entices them to get 10% off of wherever they wanted, whatever they wanted to purchase. There's a danger in that, yes?
Yes, but another good thing you brought up, Corey, was privacy settings. So at the very, very depth of these social medias, you can set the privacy settings so that your information doesn't go to everybody. It only goes to people that you want to see. You shouldn't accept friend invitations from people you don't know. Mm-hmm. We're human. We feel bad. Oh, he's going to be upset. She's going to be upset. Who cares? You want to be safe. Go into the privacy setting, and if you don't know someone, then a lot of community organizations are giving clinics for people to go with their phone, look at their phone, make sure it's set to private, make sure if it's possible they have a trusted advisor who knows what their intention is. I've had people in hospital. They need to have someone pay their bills. We've had cases of people passed away unexpectedly, and all their banking was done online, and no one could get. They had credit problems because no one could have access.
Just couldn't find it.
Or, if you have handicaps, you need, because they're saying, please don't print Save a Tree, but save me. So let's figure out what's that safe balance.
Nancy, you are a wealth of information. We could have you on for a lot longer. We do have to wrap up here. We want to thank you so much for being on the show. How can our listeners reach you?
Easiest is my name. My email address is Nancy, Nancy, .Cleman, CLEMAN, @LRMM.com. And happy to take any questions, or if you get questions, send them on, and I'll send back what answers I have. It's been a pleasure.
All right, Nancy, thank you so much. That's lawyer Nancy Clayman. Nancy's responsible for the intellectual property group at Lapointe, Rosenstein, Marchand, et Mélenchon. Corey, what do we have coming up?
Coming up on Life on Rehearsed, our population is aging and there are more caregivers than ever. I'm going to be talking with Matt Delvecchio about how you can age in place longer and when it might be time to consider a senior living community. That's coming up after the CTV News Update.